Ba-da-ba.
You guys are such ass.
Welcome to the Second Wall, a binge-free zone where we look at a series and discuss it in small rounds. This time we're diving Arcane Season 2, Episodes 7 through 9. We can be found on most podcasts and social media platforms, full list of which can be found at beardyandthebeast.com. Please watch the final act and then join Drew and I at the last drop to discuss the show over a pint.
And from out of nowhere, Echo with a steel chair.
So, I think the first thing that I want to say is I think in the long run, every single one of the predictions that we had, even from season 1, actually came through.
Which was really weird because it looked like a lot of them weren't going to pan out.
Right?
I'm actually very surprised that we ended up being kind of accurate. Yeah, I definitely think you were more on the ball. But I mean, I wanted completely different cast, so that was desire versus prediction.
Yeah. Though you called Maddie. I don't like it, but I'll accept it.
Well, you know, it's because I'd be into her.
Right.
Because there's Vi people, there's Jinx people.
And there's Drew who goes after the lesbians.
Okay.
And, you know, the people that'll love knife you. So, I think the overall, I enjoyed the ending. I still don't think it was as strong as season 1. But I think there's just a lot of... I'm trying to figure out in my head how I would pace it differently. Because it feels like if they just shuffled things around a little bit more, we probably actually would have had the through lines and the payoffs. But I don't know how viable that would have been.
There's a good example of something that they did that was funky in episode 8, where it was like, I'm pretty sure it was, it's not like I just watched this or anything. So.
Yeah.
It was Jayce, and he was talking to, I always forget her name. She's like my bae.
Mel?
Yeah, Mel. So Jayce and Mel are talking. It's this big thing. And then it cuts away. And it's just, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it Caitlyn and Vi just like doing it?
Yeah, that.
And then it comes back to them.
Yes.
Same conversation, pretty much. I'm not wondering. I'll make a statement. Let's make a statement instead of a wonder, a ponder, a surmise. To me, they were more interested in the music video shots, the things that were more viral from the first season, than actually putting scenes in an order that paced it well.
So that part definitely felt like that. I think season 8 is where I figured the pacing thing, but it's not just that viral aspect. It's so I'll kind of work off that scene. One of the things season 1 did very well was cutting between the two parallel storylines. And we kept getting snippets of that. So I think of the end of season, or the end of, we're going to mess up season the entire time again. Episode 6, where, you know, Rip Aisha, we had that explosion. And then we had it was kind of mirrored with, no, it wasn't even mirrored with Mel having her explosion, because that was a different episode. So season 1, I feel like we would have had the Vander Aisha explosion and the Mel explosion and, you know, what was happening with Jayce and Viktor all kind of happening in one moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I felt like would have fixed the pacing. And in my head, I'm trying to figure out how they could have done that, though, because you couldn't have really separated it. But it seems like we could have had the Echo Jayce thing that happened even a little bit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So it was being interspersed throughout the series instead of each episode being like its own self-contained story. I feel the first season would have split it, and I think that would have fixed some of the pacing things.
Well, that's the thing. We had a lot of the more dedicated episode stuff earlier in season 2, opposed to going through the parallel storylines and the intertwining storylines in season 1. They chose a different method of storytelling for this.
Yeah.
And maybe people got lost. Maybe that was a criticism. But I think overall, because moments that are happening at the same point of time, we only get a snippet of one group and then this long, drawn-out conversation of another group. That's what makes it feel rushed.
Yeah.
Because you're like, but what's happening with Vi and Caitlyn right now? Even though, like...
The answer is nothing. Still nothing ever happens with Caitlyn.
Well, I mean, they put that scene where they did so they can easily snip it out when they go to foreign markets that are not so progressive as the West.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong.
But they made a good effort in 3 episodes, to wrap up 2 seasons worth of content.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of payoffs for things, and I'm sure we'll talk about them. But because of the lack of strength of season 2, 1 through 6, it makes 7 through 9 hit less hard.
Mm.
It seemed to me to be more of a spectacle than like a payoff for the stories of all the characters that we love.
Yeah. I would say episodes 1 through 4. I think 5 it started pulling itself back together.
Mm.
But still, that's the first half of the series.
Yeah.
Being lacking. Let's say lacking.
Well, it's hard to say lacking because overall I got positive feelings of both seasons.
Yeah.
We don't really rate things anymore, but I would definitely give 15-20% better rating to the first season.
Mm. Yeah, when I say lacking, I'm specifically saying lacking completely in comparison to season 1. It wasn't bad. It was just compared to season 1, the first half wasn't there. To clarify.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Like, my point of view is season 1, just a comparative thing. Season 1 was like, there's a restaurant I like to go to that unfortunately I won't be able to go to for much longer. It's called Spinnaker's. I really like a specific meal there. It's one of the best meals I have. And then I always follow it. I always follow it up with a beer flight and truffle pairing, which is excellent. And even, like, it's hard to say, but might even be a better experience than the meal I get before it.
Right.
Season 2 is kind of like going for a mid-meal for a pretty good dessert afterwards. Not an excellent meal for a great dessert.
Yeah, right. I can see that.
I'd still do both.
Yeah.
But long-winded analogy. Number 5, long-winded analogy.
Yeah, that'll stay. So, go ahead.
Generically, I liked that it seemed to make a point of trying to bookend all the storylines that they had open. And they've, even when, for instance, Vi and Jinx have different emotional storylines, and they made an effort of bookending both of them. And they're separate storylines. They just involve the other person.
Yeah. In reality, there's only one storyline I feel like didn't really get addressed and resolved, and that's the Black Rose.
I was going to say why Maddie didn't end up with me. I think
she likes Caitlyn.
Well, I mean, I don't think she did, though. Caitlyn just provided her some warmth, as she said.
Look, the only evidence we have is she's looking for other opportunities.
That's a very polite way to say it. And part of that did have to do with the pacing, right?
Yeah.
So if that was a line of intrigue that they had followed throughout, season 2 altogether, then we would have ended up with a very fun, intriguing payoff. Even with the mystery of like her calling the other mage a deceiver.
Yeah.
Like knowing who they were wasn't necessary for the storyline.
Yeah. While I agree it wasn't necessary for the storyline, it's the one bit that just, like, why were you introduced when you didn't really do anything with it other than, you know, Black Rose never changed since the bare introduction of it at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like, like, I get that Mel is a mage and I like it, but
yeah.
I think that's actually the good example of where I would have layered the stories. I think the episode with Mel in the Black Rose prison and Echo and Heimdinger in the alternate reality, those should have been like paired together. Because there's a similar through line of it. They're both trapped.
Yeah.
In a way, right? And how are they getting through it? Which is what we would have seen. You know, then we wouldn't have been going episodes at a time going, okay, well, what's happening with the Mel storyline? Okay, what's happening with where the heck did Echo and Heimdinger go? We wouldn't have had that.
Well, and that's the thing I was calling for, like, all of season 2. Like, I was mostly interested in what happened to Echo.
Yeah.
Because I knew they were going to expand on his character for season 2. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they didn't really do a great job of it, but it was nice to get what we got.
Yeah.
Because there was significant and relatable growth there.
Yeah. But
overall, the payoff with that was, again, good, not great.
Mm. Yeah, because we didn't get to explore it. Really. Like, I did not see Echo being the one to forgive and help bring Jinx back in. I like it. I kind of would have liked to see that conversation, even though we didn't need it.
Well, the thing is, like, it feels odd, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it feels odd because Jinx has her... I'm forgetting a word. Where she, like, atones and...
Redemption?
She had a redemption arc.
Yeah.
But that was far outside of what happened with Echo.
Mm-hmm.
So Echo doesn't know that. And then Echo has a self-discovery arc.
Yeah.
And Jinx doesn't know that.
Yeah.
So they come together in this one apex moment where unfortunately, I mean, don't do it, kids, but I think Jinx was making the right choice. Metaphorically. Qualifier. But for flipping Echo to like pop out and be like, no, I just want to talk. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. That's okay. No, it makes sense because I think Echo saw what Jinx could have been. And so I think that helped recontextualize how Powder became Jinx to him.
Oh, okay.
So he was able to... I think that's why he wanted to talk. That's the conversation that I'm writing in my head. That he's realizing that. And that what could have been allowed him to go through in the same way that Vi was trying to do with Jinx early on.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't know Jinx. She only knew Powder. And here Echo only knew Jinx before, now that he's gotten to know Powder. He's trying to reach out to that.
It was really cool for Echo to be able to see what could have been the potential of Powder without Jinx.
Yeah.
Knowing these two parallel storylines, unfortunately, kind of discredits something that our kind of thing that we were saying before is like, did Jinx or did Powder ever exist?
Yeah, well, I mean, alternate storyline, little hard to say. Kind of invalidates it. But at the same time, I don't know. I would almost argue that the Powder in that alternate timeline wasn't anything like the Powder / Jinx we knew anyway.
Yeah, because Vi wasn't there.
But unless Powder was the cause of Vi, because Powder was curious. She was the one trying to push forward anyway. The one in the alternate timeline wasn't. They straight up said that she didn't want to push herself in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, trauma for young age, all you want to do is be cool like your big sister, and then your big sister dies in your arms. Doing something adventurous and something spontaneous.
Yeah.
I mean,
very different inflection points.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
I know you do. And no one else does.
Watch it. But yeah. I was dissatisfied with one thing. I was dissatisfied that was actually Heimdinger.
I don't know how I feel. I really have no strong feelings on it either way. They obviously wouldn't have had time to give us a Heimdinger arc. So I'm okay with it. He was always kind of secondary anyway. I think we wanted him to be more primary, and just he never was.
I mean, Heimdinger did give himself up in a way that you would expect him to.
Mm-hmm.
So he did have an arc in growth.
Yeah.
It was only in season 1. But he developed enough as a character.
I think it culminated in season 2. I think the culmination of it was with when Echo's like, no, I need someone to help me here.
Yeah.
And he's like, right, I should probably do that instead of just like ignoring it like I did beforehand.
my other apprentice.
Yeah. So I think that was part of the growth, and understanding that, okay, no, sometimes you do actually need to do that push, because he was very stagnant.
Well, for centuries, stagnant. Yeah. Very hard-headed about everything.
Yeah. So I think that was a good culmination of it. So I do have to ask, because this entered in my mind. I don't know. I half thought that Powder would have gotten caught up in that. And then we would have had a Powder and a Jinx.
Oh.
It entered my mind. I thought there was a chance of it.
I mean, the way they handle it, I liked how they handled it.
Mm.
It was like mind transference.
Yeah.
But that would have been fun. We would have needed another season to explore that.
Oh, for sure.
Just imagine the dissociative break that Jinx would have seeing actual Powder.
Yeah, that's very fair.
It'd be fun and heartbreaking. Just on because I mentioned one thing I was dissatisfied with. I have another thing.
Was it Caitlyn?
Is Aisha.
Yeah.
We saw the after effects with Jinx, but there was no proverbial burial. It would have been good to have a flashback to Jinx giving herself up. I know I'm usually very anti-flashback, but I think it was needed there.
Yeah, I can see that. That would have pondering on that a little bit.
They gave in artfully.
I'm gonna disagree. I think that would have been something that would not have helped the pacing anymore.
No, but I would like to explore that grief.
Yes. Well,
because that was the innocence that she was protecting in herself, right?
So I think they did explore that grief, just knowing that she turned herself in, sitting there basically in the web of her hair. Just because it was definitely Jinx in that cell, not Powder. I think that was exploring it in a very Jinx way, and even having the conversation with Silco.
Oh, that was an amazing conversation.
It really was.
Well, I mean, that's the only thing that pulled that together. If it wasn't for that conversation, I would have been upset with that.
Yeah. But I think that's what... I think that is the way to explore that with her. I mean, we've never had these conversations with anyone else that... And so she's no stranger to loss. I think that worked. I think she talked herself into the right decision about stopping the cycle, but obviously without Echo, I don't think she would have necessarily understood what stopping the cycle meant, because I don't think that would have necessarily. Just would have ended it for her, as opposed to what actually happened. But again, with her broken mind, I completely understand why that's what she was going to do, and it paid off well in the end.
Well, it's one of those things it's probably one of the biggest points of character growth in the series. Jinx not turning around and trying to enact a one-woman war against the army.
Though she did in the long run. Some fireflies running around. Firelights.
Thing is, it's interesting because she came in as a support.
She came in as a support and was that organized chaos we were hoping to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really hoping for something like that where we had our moment. We had our Avengers assemble.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they did it the way that they did it. But I also kind of wanted a moment with Vi and Jinx standing next to each other, and Vi just like looking at her and being like, "Go nuts," and then them fighting in their own mannerisms next to each other.
Yes,
would have been so sick.
I agree. I was really hoping for that.
I mean, we kind of got it against Vander.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that fight was probably one of the things that was a little disappointing for me. Like it mostly, the broad strokes of it kind of played out like I want it, but I don't know. The Viktor interference bothered me. So the way I saw the scene happening mostly was it was going to be, Vi was going to be having to fight Vander. I just knew that right off the bat. But I figured Vi wouldn't have the strength to do what needed to be done, and that would have been Jinx's redemption. She would have stepped in and did what she learned from Aisha, is what I kind of thought was going to happen.
The problem that I see with that scene, though, like having that again, is we already know that Vander was burned out of the creature.
Yeah.
They made a very beautiful moment of doing it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things like one character didn't tell another, and that's what's creating the current conflict or the current concern. So it's the piece of information our characters don't know. And all of a sudden, Vi is, approaching Vander. I agree the fight could have been more. Flashy, spectacle.
Yeah.
I don't think it should have been. We already had enough aerial. It should have been on the ground.
Yeah. Though they did use their weapons in a really cool way.
Yeah, but I mean, Jayce was doing the exact same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, I use my shoots to propel me in the anti-grav.
Yeah.
I move fast.
Yeah. I think if that fight did happen the way I kind of perceive it, I think it would have worked even if like they know that he's burned out.
Yeah.
But Vi has shown already, and they pushed through that she's not letting go of her family. She's still chasing after. And that's what I think would have stayed her hand. Right? Regardless if he's there or not. In the same way that she's always looking for powder, even though it was very clear that it was Jinx for the longest while.
Yeah.
So I could have seen that being a parallel.
I mean, Vi was right.
I mean, yes.
It's just, it reminds me of, it's not really analogous. So in Naruto. So in like the original Naruto, it was hard work versus like talent and being a prodigy.
Yeah.
And Naruto was supposed to be all that was hard work.
Yeah.
And that's why he succeeded. But then you get into the later seasons and he's got the bloodline with the highest chakra. He's the son of the fourth Hokage. He's been given the nine-tailed fox, the strongest of the tailed beasts. It's like, so technically, if you go back to the Neji and Naruto fight, Neji was actually the champion of hard work, and he got his ass beat by a prodigy.
That's true. And I got distracted by that, and I forget use that as any analogy.
It's okay. It was very poor.
Yeah.
It was just a fun story.
Oh, that's right. Vi being right. I'm assuming you're being right about Powder being there.
Yes.
She wasn't. That was Jinx that attacked. That was not Powder. I say this with confidence because they were doing the graffiti throughout the attacks. That was very clearly the Jinx break.
Well, I mean, she even used her Jinx power.
Yeah. So, but that being said, just shows that Jinx, again, she had her redemption. And for the most part, it ended in the way it did. It wasn't as, well, no, it was still just as flashy. We just didn't see it. But I knew that it was going to be Jinx that went down with Vander.
Mm-hmm. Or did she?
Yes. She blew herself up right good.
I don't think she did.
And the fall damage got her.
It's the fall damage in League of Legends. Oh, you're not on my meme platform, but I've been sitting around this one meme, and it's this girl, and she's kind of laying back, just like, okay, everybody, I know you're super into Arcane, but there's something super important I need to tell you. You need to promise me this. Don't play the game it's based on.
Nope, you did show me that. Yeah. So I kind of alluded to this with Viktor. I mean, I'm glad I was right and he was a bad guy. I appreciated that. A couple of things. It entered my mind that Jayce was the sorcerer that gave him the stone way back when and brought him into magic. Didn't mind that it was Viktor, but just entered my mind that, they're playing with time now.
I thought it was Viktor.
Yeah. I went with the time travel, and like, especially because he was doing the limping for just before, so that's what sparked that in my head. No, it made perfect sense that it was Viktor. That was just...
Well, for me, it was as soon as Viktor got the weird body, in the back of my head, I'm like, he's the one.
Yeah.
It's similar, like, they did have a little bit of Rose early on.
Yeah.
Like, the little girl in Mel's flashback in, like, episode 2.
Yeah.
Was either the deceiver, there's a girl who was the deceiver in it, or the deceiver was wearing the face of this girl.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So, like, they tried, and being a secondary character. She's definitely not, like, Heimdinger's a tertiary.
Yeah.
She did have a full story, so.
Rose still wasn't explored enough.
No, I agree. But like this time loop thing and saving Jayce and so forth. Mind you, what? Because none of that would have ever happened if Viktor didn't go back and save Jayce.
And that's why I thought it was Jayce. That's why I thought Jayce went back and saved himself. I thought there was a time loop that way.
No, but the thing that older Celestial Viktor was trying to stop by enacting everything that occurred was the Arcane and magic.
Which you could have stopped by just
not doing the thing he did.
Yeah.
Mind you, time is linear for the people perceiving it.
Yes.
So if I go back in time, it's still like my perception hasn't changed. It's still just a line, right? So he might have realized his mistake when he gave the crystal, and then afterwards he decided to make the change to stop.
Yeah. Oh, they did imply that he's done it multiple times in multiple universes.
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, no, they straight up said it, and they were like showing a bunch of the crystals with different runes on them. Yeah. He straight up Doctor Stranged it. Yeah.
But in this case, we probably could have used an America Chavez.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it makes sense that it was Viktor. I just thought it could have been. I thought there was a chance that it was Jayce trying to fix his own mistakes, because specifically it's like, no, I can try to find a way to fix this, which is what led me to believe that, because the second you introduce time travel, who knows?
You know, it was a great scene. I know we're like all over the place.
Yeah.
I'm like in the flow here. When Jayce gets his leg smashed by his own hammer, and then he gives himself a splint and a crutch,
Yeah.
effectively living how Viktor would live.
Well, that's the exact scene that made me think, is he the sorcerer?
Mm.
Right? Because there's so much around it. It's like, clearly Jayce was in the right going after Viktor, even though he didn't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have seen just trying to have that path going.
I mean, for all we know, all that was actually just the Black Rose.
It's yeah.
Yeah, I don't, but I like it less now.
Yeah.
That you've mentioned there's a multi-dimensional thing.
Yeah.
Well, like if we go back to Echo, right?
Mm.
I thought he was living in a realm of imagination that a fixed inflection point was altered. And he was living in the end result, but it was being fueled by his subconscious.
Yeah.
But then they're like, no, different timeline.
Yeah.
And I went,
That's actually exactly what I wrote down. It's like, is this supposed to be a multiverse, or is this a what could have been? And
I made more. So what I was hoping there is Jayce was seeing the future that would be because of something he did.
yeah.
And then Echo was seeing the present based on what he wanted.
Yeah.
Like, and then I was hoping they would do a Heimdinger one. They didn't have time for it.
Yeah.
And then maybe that would be exploring the past based on the prejudices he previously had.
Yeah.
Would have been a great,
Oh,
like, 3-story intertwined.
absolutely.
It sucks that they missed the opportunity there, but again, they didn't have time. They already at least needed 2 more episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's another thing with Viktor that I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. But when he goes all Borg and like starts taking over everyone. Up until that point, we'd basically been shown that there was almost a connection to the Shimmer. With all of the people he helped, they were all the Shimmer addicts and such. I think it bothered me that he could just like mind tap everyone.
Yeah. Like at will.
Yeah. Like I feel like it was done to not have sorry. I feel like it was done so they wouldn't have a bunch of people interfering with the Jayce Viktor conflict.
Yeah.
But it wasn't needed. There's no reason we couldn't have kept having Jinx and Vander and Vi fighting. There's no reason we still couldn't have had the fight with Mel and...
Yeah, I mean, like, the pace of the fight was going in Mel's favor.
Yeah.
Or not, sorry.
In Bessa's favor?
Bessa's favor.
Yeah.
Like, there was no need to have, Spider-Man super soldiers just overwhelming. I mean, we already had Shimmer soldiers.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if there was only a couple. I think the problem is because of how it was portrayed and how they were used, it didn't make it feel hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't feel like Mbessa was on her back foot, so she called these things in.
Yeah.
It was just a point in the battle. She's like, okay, let's bring them in now.
Yeah.
Like,
No, it was a strategy time thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have a problem with that. I just had a problem with them being the Borg in that regards.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't feel like what we were led to believe. Like, I don't think I fully hate it. I just think it's, again, one of those things where we didn't get to explore it enough to make it feel quite right.
Well, they were just trying to paint him as the biggest bad, right?
Yeah.
And the manner that they did it wasn't really that necessary.
Mm-hmm.
We already hate him because he burned out Vander.
Yeah. No. I mean, again, it's the plot that I called right from the get-go with him.
It's like, so in John Wick, they break into his house.
Yeah.
Like, kill the dog that his dying wife gave him so that he could have something to grieve with based on the loss of her.
Yeah.
Powerful. They stole his car. It'd be like if he got another dog and they came back and killed it for no reason.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that same guy got a dog. Let's go back and kill it.
Yeah.
Like, why? It was just, yeah. It was a weird, like, unneeded ramp in the escalation. I think what they could have done with that is, like, understood that not every facet of a character's lore needs to be explored.
Mm-hmm.
For all I know, they were being very true to Viktor's lore.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was necessary for the story.
Well, I think that's a big aspect of it. If you had asked me 3 hours ago what I thought the big climactic battle would have been, that wasn't it.
No.
The big climactic battle I thought was going to be Mel and Ambessa. And that's where it should have been, because that's the through line we've had more so. And Ambessa, I could see using Viktor.
Yeah.
But instead it was Viktor using Ambessa, or maybe? Like, Jayce and Viktor was never the emotional conflict.
Yeah.
That was going to be the end of the show to me. So having that be resolved to that big, as you said, it's a big spectacle climax.
Yeah.
Instead of the emotional climaxes that we wanted with Vi and Jinx and Mel and Ambessa.
Yeah, lots of...
The ordering was wrong.
the order was wrong. Choices were made.
Yeah.
Not all of them were the strongest choices.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not an Angela cut situation, but you know, sometimes some directors just do a not great movie and they need somebody to come along and do a better cut, and then terrible fans
Want a black and white version.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, terrible fans come out and they go, no, the original director should have done it. And then just like the longest, worst filth.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah. And like the worst part about it is I don't like the way they edit it. I think all of the pieces are correct. I have no problem with the pieces. I have problem with the order, but I can't reorder it in my head to make things make sense without like mementoing it. So I can understand exactly why they made the choices they did. Just, yeah. You know, sad thing is we're talking about this. I'm like, thought this was satisfying. Now I'm feeling it's not quite as satisfying as I thought when I was watching it.
Well, the spectacle makes it feel more satisfying than it probably actually is.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, who did we actually resolve with? Mel doesn't feel resolved, and Bessa does. Viktor feels resolved, but I don't think Jayce does. I think Vi feels resolved, but Jinx doesn't.
I think Jinx feels as resolved as we can resolve chaos.
I think she's a different beast now.
I do, but in the terms of the story we had, Didn't
you see? She cut her hair.
She did cut her hair. I did see.
I mean, she's changed.
It does. And that's why she did the selfless sacrifice.
Was she afraid the hair was going to buffer the explosion?
Vi feels resolved. Caitlyn's Caitlyn. Yeah, she's there. She's there.
Missed opportunity.
Such a missed opportunity in every way. Okay, so let's go on this missed opportunity here for a second. The conversation that she had with Jinx in the cell was probably the only point in the 2 seasons that she had some sort of character. And it was very specifically the line where she said, "We have to pay for our mistakes." I'm like, cool. You understand you committed all the war crimes. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, cool. Maybe we'll get consequences. Of course we don't.
You're talking about she lost an eye.
Yeah, but that just makes her cool.
But now she can see more clearly that she has one eye.
Is that how it works?
I know. And you know that. Rip me. I can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
Not powder. So yes, I agree. Vi completely resolved. Nothing there. I think they probably could have done something with the grief of her losing yet more of her friends across the board, but I don't think that was anything that needed to be explored further. I think Viktor was technically resolved. No, Viktor was resolved. I have no issues with that. I do like the fact that Skye just called him and was like, yeah, you didn't care about me either. Even in your head. Loved that.
That sucks.
Right?
Like, her storyline is so sad.
It was such a small storyline. It's like, I just want more of it. I loved it.
You wanted so much better for her.
Jayce. Again, this is why it shouldn't have been the end. Jayce's wasn't the main storyline that I was following. Like, what did he learn? What did he get out of it?
No, it felt secondary.
Yeah.
Because they were following Jinx and Vi so thoroughly, it always overshadowed Jayce's. Like, and at points, you started having the encroachment of Abessa and Mel.
Yeah.
Which then takes away from the Jayce Viktor.
Yeah.
Like, that didn't feel like the climactic moment as it should have been.
Yeah. I think so. Abessa is resolved.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to argue that Mel's storyline is resolved, but a new storyline has kicked off, which makes it feel unresolved in the context of the rest of the show. Because when we look at Mel from season 1, her conflict was always with her mother.
Yeah.
And that conflict was resolved. She showed that she could be the wolf.
Yeah.
Instead of just the fox.
Oh, I hated it.
Be it what it was there. I think
I was like, during that, I was like, she's a wolf. I have inside me 3 wolves and 1 moon.
The reason I hate it again is because of the Black Rose, though. That's no moon. No, what I hate the way that resolved because the Black Rose wasn't resolved, not because Mel's conflict with her mother wasn't resolved.
But the problem is,
that's why I say they resolved her storyline, but used that immediately to lead into another storyline that I have no reason to believe we're ever going to get a resolution to.
well, the thing is, it was Mbessa's storyline that was resolved. The Black Rose was always Mel's storyline. It's the reason she was sent out. It's the reason she was treated differently by her mom.
We don't find that out till so late in the story. So I'm looking at Mel's emotional story, which was just with her mom. The Black Rose, and the way they introduced the Black Rose was it being Mbessa's story.
It's the thing. They've just muddled the stories.
Yeah.
It always should have been, much like Jinx and Vi, separate stories with similar characters, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But, I mean, we get that with Viktor and Jayce.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the one dichotomy that, gets muddled the most, which is funny because I honestly thought the Hex Core fusion thing was going to be what muddled stuff.
I mean, at least Echo came back with power.
Yeah, exactly like we thought he would.
And that makes his fight scene with Jinx so much cooler on that bridge.
Yeah.
Because it means he predicted all her movements just with, like, his superior intellect.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to argue it wasn't needed, though.
The time?
Yeah. It actually had... The only impact that Echo coming back with power had... Well, I mean, obviously, so they could do the bit with Jinx.
Yeah.
But taking that that part out, what impact did it have? The only impact it was, hey, now there's a second Hex Core meeting the first Hex Core. It had no impact on the fights in any way.
Well, they didn't even express how the device could be used as some type of weapon or disruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that was our Deus Ex Machina. Literally pulled from another dimension.
Yeah.
To throw in the face. And it was never telegraphed in that way.
Yeah.
That's so sad. I like Echo.
I do too. But yeah. That's the thing.
That's fine. That's fine. At least it was a spectacle.
Yeah.
We got our end game? No.
Yeah.
Infinity War?
Endgame, I think, is the more accurate spectacle. They're all here. Everyone lost in Infinity War. Yeah.
I mean, the longer we're talking about this, the less I like season 2.
Yep. Yeah. Again, I don't think it would take much to fix it.
You know, smarter men can try. For me... Oh no, Maddie did die. Dang it. Never mind. I have nothing.
That makes sense.
The rain is gone. Did you kind of notice like it felt like the character animation got worse in the last couple episodes?
What I felt, I see what you're saying. I don't think I quite agree. They did a lot of stylized shots that made it feel, like it made me question if my stream had frozen and the audio was still playing.
I did. I remember that part.
And I don't understand the stylistic choice to do that. Because other times when they had done stuff like that, they changed to the watercolors or something where you're in a different place, so you're getting these things. I do not understand why they didn't stylize like the dance scene and like the hammer. Like I don't. Yeah, no, I thought the stream froze.
Well, what I'm talking explicitly like just the regular character models. They feel like it was like a step back a couple of years for me.
I personally didn't notice it. I'm not saying it wasn't there. I just didn't notice it.
It could have just been ambitious shot choices, and like with a live action person, it would have come out with more intensity. Whereas when you're doing like 3D and then you're kind of doing like a sharp up the nose and they curl their lip, it doesn't look natural.
Yeah.
Because no one's ever animated that before.
Yeah. Oh, there's definitely some of that. I don't know, like I'm thinking with Mel in particular when she did that.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
So while I noticed that, I actually took that part in particular as a choice. I saw that as her mimicking Ambessa, but that is not natural for Mel.
I guess. I'll tell you what, though, because I kind of mentioned it earlier. The music video shots of this.
Yes.
It somehow both added and subtracted from the thing. Because it was like, it felt like every 30 seconds. Here's the music video. Here's the viral moment.
See, but I called that out at the beginning of the season.
Did you?
Yes.
Well, then you're right.
Yeah. Because I remember asking you, like, doesn't it feel like they just were like, and here's another song, and here's another song? It's like the songs worked, but
I want the vinyl.
Yeah.
It's a great album. But why is the album 30 tracks long?
Yeah.
There's 9 episodes.
Yeah. Carolyn Tuesday doesn't have that.
Maybe if there was an Angela cut.
Maybe. There's definitely that music video bit. Wasn't needed.
Also, something I didn't like. Every sex scene is too long.
Oh my god.
Like, I say this about hetero sex scenes too. It's like, once you do the suave, like, gentle dropping the strap of her nightgown or something.
Yeah.
And you kiss, maybe you have a stylistic shot of like 2 bodies in the dark silhouettes. That's enough to indicate they've had sex. But to have that, and then have that again, and then you're going down the body, and then you have a POV shot of being gone down on.
Yeah.
And then you have the, oh my.
Well,
it was needless. It was unwanted.
Yes, I agree. So here's an interesting thing. Like, I agree 99% of the time. That's about all you need in the sex scene, like you were saying, just that hint of it. And it actually comes from a writing standpoint. There's no point in showing it if there's nothing dynamic changing. And there's nothing dynamic changing. If you want an example of a scene where that happens is, I don't know if you remember Shoot 'em Up.
I don't remember at all.
All right. Well, there is a scene in Shoot 'em Up where it's a sex scene, but there's a gunfight happening at the same time.
I remember this.
Right?
I wasn't a fan of it just because I thought it was silly, but I understand your...
But I mean, it's the same thing with a fight scene. A fight scene gets boring if it's just one person beating on the other person. There's no reason to continue that scene.
I thought if they were expressed in putting in very intimate moments, they could have done it at another time where Vi and Caitlyn were exploring each other's bodies, and there was much of a difference of how many scars, how much damage, how many repaired bones, versus how smooth and supple,
yes,
or lack of a better term, Caitlyn would be.
Yes, that again, and that builds on what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It's that there's a dynamic there, and they almost had it, like, you know, seeing Vi's tattoos. That is literally the first time we saw any tattoo except for her name and the one gear. I had no idea it was that massive. It was amazing.
And the clouds.
Like, tied it back, right? Like, that was worth being there. Seeing the bandage on her, that was worth being there. But then, as you said, yeah, there was none of the other exploration that needed to be there to make it worth it. And it was just the worst timing. Like, at least fight first.
Yeah, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith it.
Yes. Like, have it as a fight. Like, it should have been, because, again, Caitlyn's character is the opposite of good character. Like, I'll say again, I've said it every time. There is no reason to believe we have this growth with her other than the fact that we're told. And this show is generally done well with showing, not telling. And everything about Caitlyn is being told. Like, oh yeah, no. Why do you think all of the guards were gone? Like, this is bullshit, Caitlyn. I don't like it. And I don't like that it's working for Vi. Like, I have no issues with Vi's feelings towards Caitlyn growing. We spent enough time with Vi.
There's something there.
That I get it. Caitlyn has done nothing to deserve this throughout the show. And it bothers me. Because there could be. And there wasn't. Her gun had more character than her. What was it that I saw? Well, I know there's one part where we're watching it and just turning. It's like, and still more, more character than Caitlyn. It was like a 2-second thing. I can't remember what it was.
Was it where the blue-haired DJ girl died or something like that?
No, it was before that. It was like the dumbest thing.
Oh, was it when the guy put on his mask and he was like doing the suicide mission?
Yeah. It's like just all over the place. Like, Caitlyn's useless. Everyone who's Caitlyn simps, you're wrong. I'm sorry. Yes, I will attack your waifu.
This is why I don't have expectations. So, unlike most people, whenever I watch a new piece of media, I go into it with no expectations, and I'm very good at doing this.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I'll go in thinking it's going to be the best thing. And this is long before the superheroification of Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
I've always kind of been like this because sequels are often letdowns. Like, the only good sequel is the only good movie of the series.
Yeah.
And that's Empire Strikes Back.
I mean, there's arguably other sequels that are, but yeah, no, I get your point.
Queen of the Damned, best sequel ever.
Terminator 2, arguably, but that changes the genre completely.
Yeah, I think when they change the genre, it really helps because they're not trying to recapture the same thing.
Yeah.
But so I went into this with my standard skepticism, and I'm glad I didn't have a lot of hope that it was going to live up to what this first season was.
Yeah.
Like there's a few things that, aside from all the things that we've discussed, like still not ballsy, like they can still cut out all of the like woman on women love and make it good for non-Western countries.
They could have cut it all out for the Western country and it would have been better anyway. It served nothing. Sorry, get off that.
You just don't like Caitlyn. I think it was important for Vi.
I think it was important. Yeah, okay. It was important for Vi.
Yeah, but Caitlyn's just a bad character.
Yeah, the connection was important for Vi. I agree. Yeah, but yeah, no, I don't like Caitlyn. I want to like Caitlyn, but
it's because they took a tertiary character and made her secondary.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, we had other characters that Vi could have had these connections to. Granted, they killed him off. Really wanted to spend more time with him because he seemed like a real good guy. or Shielder guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I would like to have more of them, but
Yeah.
what we had of them was fine.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm saying that there were other characters that could have given Vi that connection.
he only had like 3 lines.
Yes, and still more character than Caitlyn.
That's so facts that Gandalf rides it into battle. I agree. It's just so hard to live up to the first series because though it's not perfect, it is excellent. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed almost everything about it.
Yeah.
I mean, even Caitlyn's storyline was better in the first season.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was a tertiary storyline. Honestly.
And we lose some of the magic of some of the characters. Because, like, even Mbessa starts feeling like she's preachy and naggy by the end of it.
Yeah.
She definitely doesn't feel nearly as badass. Because she stops being manipulative, silent, and stoic. And starts feeling like she's trying to teach children.
Yeah.
Which
I think I think a lot of that's the pacing. Again, if it feels that way, in my opinion, it feels that way because we got it all at once instead of being interspersed and having these storylines actually intertwining.
Yeah.
Don't try to make each episode its own movie when you're doing a series.
I hate that.
Yeah. Like that. I think in a nutshell, that's the biggest issue with it. Again, like, I still don't think I have an issue with the overall plot points of the show. I don't have an issue with the general emotional moments in the show. I have an issue with the way it was presented to me.
And Caitlyn.
And Caitlyn. But that's never changed.
Yeah, I think I don't have too much else that I can say about the series. Like, I've pretty much said my piece.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think this happened for a movie that we watched, not The Little Hours.
No.
Where the more we discussed it, we realized how strong it wasn't.
Yeah.
And both liked the movie less afterwards.
Yeah. I cannot remember which one that is. I'm sure if I pulled up the list, I would be able to poke it out. Event Horizon.
Oh, no, Event Horizon was great. Event Horizon was exactly what it was.
Nope, you're right. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll link it in like the card thing or whatever, if we remember.
If we do. Sometimes YouTube swaps it out. Sometimes they don't put the ability to put cards in the same way.
Thanks, YouTube.
And then I just don't put in cards. And so sometimes it does it after checking an upload. Sometimes it does it during. And if it's going to do it after, I'm not going to go back in and do it.
Yeah, it's fair.
I've already done a lot.
No.
Was there any final points that you kind of wanted to follow up on?
I really think I think we've pretty much covered it. It's a shame because most of the series that we've covered, like these final episodes that we do, are like 3 times as long as any of the others.
Yeah.
And this one just never really did it. It didn't land us the character beats in a way to build that discussion up.
Yeah.
Is really what it is. So yeah, no, the final point that I have again is it needed to be edited differently, and Caitlyn's useless.